It was supposed to be the start of something new. August 1990, Gainesville, Florida. The end of a hot summer and the beginning of fall semester. 18-year-olds were moving into dorms, stringing up posters and checking course schedules. Parents were hugging their kids goodbye. College bars were already seeing their first flood of new patrons. It was loud, alive, normal. And then almost overnight, everything changed. In the span of 4 days, 5 college students, young, vibrant, with their entire lives ahead of them, were brutally murdered in their own apartments. The scenes weren't just violent, they were staged, ritualistic, deliberate. A killer was moving through Gainesville one home at a time and leaving a message behind in blood. Doors were bolted, windows nailed shut. Students fled the city. Gainesville became a ghost town. And behind it all was one man, camping in the woods, watching the chaos unfold like he'd planned all along. This is the true story of Danny Rolling, the Gainesville Ripper. And if some of it sounds eerily familiar, that's because Hollywood borrowed it, fictionalized it. But what happened in Florida was real and far worse than anything in the movies. I don't know. I've seen the movie and yeah, it's pretty gruesome, but
apparently a serial killer is on the loose. In Gainesville, 5 young people have been murdered since Sunday, some horribly mutilated.
Gainesville, Florida is a town that breathes with the rhythms of academic life. It's home to the University of Florida, one of the largest public universities in the country, as well as Santa Fe Community College. When students return in August, the entire town hums with life. Packed apartments, crowded coffee shops, parties, laughter echoing down sidewalks. It's the kind of place where bad things aren't supposed to happen. But in 1990, something dark slipped in among the returning crowd. On August 26th, police were called to a ground floor apartment in the Williamsburg Village complex. Inside were the bodies of 2 roommates, Sonja Larson, 18, and Christina Powell, 17. Both were incoming freshmen. Both had been brutally murdered. Sonja was found upstairs in her bed, stabbed in the chest and back while she slept. Christina had been raped, then stabbed multiple times and left posed. Her body intentionally arranged in a way that suggested the killer was communicating something or rehearsing something. The killer had wiped the scene clean. He left behind almost nothing. Less than 48 hours later, the Gainesville Police Department was called to another apartment across town. This time, it was Christa Hoyt, 18. A Santa Fe student and part-time records clerk at the local sheriff's office. She'd failed to show up for work, and 2 deputies went to check on her. What they found inside was almost too disturbing to process. Christina had been raped and stabbed. She had also been decapitated. Her body had been posed upright on the edge of her bed, and her severed head was placed on a nearby bookshelf, facing her corpse.
This weekend, authorities discovered the mutilated bodies of 2 female roommates. 18-year-old Sonja Larson and 17-year-old Christina Powell were first-year students who lived off campus. Police say both girls had been savagely attacked. On Monday, the decapitated body of Christa Hoyt was found in her off-campus apartment.
By August 28th, the killer struck again. in a nearby apartment complex. Tracy Pauls and her roommate Manny Taboada, both 23, were attacked in the early hours of the morning. Manny, a 6'3" aspiring architect and former high school football player, tried to fight the attacker, but was overpowered and stabbed dozens of times. Tracy, like the others, was raped and killed. Her body was left posed in the same haunting style. 5 students, 4 crime scenes, all within walking distance of campus, and all with a terrifying signature.
Early this morning, police discovered the bodies of 2 University of Florida students at this off-campus apartment building. The male and female roommates were the 4th and 5th college students found murdered in Gainesville since Sunday.
The murders hit Gainesville like a hurricane. Students who had just moved in were packing up and leaving. Classes were canceled. Teachers gave lectures to half-empty rooms. People bunkered together in groups, sleeping on floors and taking turns staying awake to keep watch. Police set up tip lines and checkpoints. Guns and locks sold out within hours. Pepper spray became as common as notebooks and backpacks. The local sheriff appeared on television, warning residents to avoid being alone at night. The university issued emergency bulletins, urging students to remain calm while preparing for the worst. Apartment managers scrambled to install floodlights and extra deadbolts. The media descended like vultures. Satellite trucks parked outside campus gates. Journalists interviewed anyone who would talk. CNN, NBC, CBS, everyone ran headlines about the college town killer. Theories poured in. Was it a satanic cult? A jealous ex? A local madman? One detail everyone agreed on. Whoever was doing this wasn't just killing. He was sending a message. The fear went beyond Gainesville. Parents across the state pulled their kids from college. Students transferred out mid-semester. Some never came back. And then, just as quickly as it started, the killing stopped. No more bodies, no more clues, and the silence was almost worse than the violence. Before he was the Gainesville Ripper, Danny Harold Rolling was a nobody, a drifter with a criminal record and a deeply fractured past. Born in 1954 in Shreveport, Louisiana, Rolling grew up in a home defined by fear. His father, James, was a local police officer who ruled with brutality. Danny was beaten regularly. His mother, Claudia, attempted suicide multiple times. Rolling later claimed he was handcuffed to furniture for hours as punishment. Emotional neglect mixed with psychological trauma created a storm inside him that never passed. As a teenager, Rolling became obsessed with voyeurism and violent fantasies. He tried joining the Air Force but was rejected. He turned to theft and petty crime, bouncing in and out of jail through his 20s and 30s. His marriages failed, his jobs didn't last, and all the while, a darker side grew stronger. In 1989, a year before Gainesville, Rolling committed his first known triple murder. In Shreveport, he broke into the home of 24-year-old Julie Grissom. He stabbed her, her father Tom, and her nephew Sean, all while they were preparing dinner. Julie's body was found posed on the bed, cleaned and arranged. It was nearly identical to what he would later do in Florida. Rolling was never charged for those killings at the time. He left town, changed identities, and drifted through the deep south. By summer of 1990, he was camping in the woods near Gainesville, using stolen IDs, robbing convenience stores, and watching the apartments from the tree line. Every night, he picked a new target. He studied their routines, he waited, and when he was ready, he struck with speed, silence, and surgical precision. Rolling might have kept killing if he hadn't gotten sloppy. On September 8, 1990, just a couple of weeks after the Gainesville murders, he robbed a Winn-Dixie supermarket in Ocala, about 40 minutes south of Gainesville. During his getaway, he crashed his stolen vehicle and was arrested. At the time, no one connected him to the Gainesville crimes. He was just another armed robber. But while Rolling sat in jail, Gainesville detectives were working overtime. At the last crime scene, they'd recovered a faint trace of bodily fluid. They also collected an empty soda can, a damaged cassette player, and a crude campsite behind one of the apartment complexes. When forensic testing advanced months later, DNA from the crime scene was matched to materials recovered at the Ocala robbery, specifically the tools and clothing found in Rolling's abandoned tent. But the biggest bombshell came from Rolling's own belongings. Among the items recovered was a series of audio cassettes, confessional tapes he had made in the woods. On them, Rolling sang country songs, talked about his life, and hinted at demons that drove him. He didn't name the victims, but his descriptions were chillingly close. In November 1991, over a year after the killings, Danny Rolling was officially charged with 5 counts of first-degree murder. Danny Rolling never put up much of a fight in court, but that didn't mean he didn't try to control the narrative. When his trial began in 1994, he pled guilty to all 5 murders, but his defense team introduced a disturbing twist. They claimed he wasn't in full control. According to Rolling, the killings had been carried out by an alternate personality, and an entity named Gemini. The name wasn't random. It came directly from The Exorcist III, where the villain is known as the Gemini Killer. Rolling had apparently watched the film multiple times and incorporated the persona into his own mythology. Psychologists were brought in to assess him. Some believed he had antisocial personality disorder, or APD. Others diagnosed him with borderline traits and narcissism, but no one bought the multiple personality defense. The Gemini narrative felt rehearsed and borrowed. He wasn't disassociated, he was calculated. During his sentencing hearing, Rolling sang gospel music, quoted scripture, and stared blankly at the families of his victims. He showed no real remorse, only performance. The court saw through it. On April 20th, 1994, he was sentenced to death. While Rolling awaited execution, his crimes were already echoing beyond the courtroom. In 1995, screenwriter Kevin Williamson was watching a news report about the Gainesville Ripper while house-sitting alone. The story rattled him. The idea of a killer targeting students in their own homes stuck in his mind. He wrote the first draft of what would become Scream in just 3 days. The story of a masked killer stalking teens. The mix of horror and self-awareness. It all had roots in the fear Gainesville experienced in 1990. Wes Craven directed the film, and Scream debuted in 1996 to critical and commercial success. While the film was fictional, the underlying terror, the sense that someone could be watching you from the dark, studying your habits, breaking into your life, that came directly from Danny Rolling. To this day, many fans of the Scream franchise have no idea it was inspired by real bloodshed. But for the families of the victims, the fiction never masked the truth. Danny Rolling sat on Florida's death row for over a decade. During that time, he painted, wrote poetry, and he gave the occasional interview through his attorneys. But the chilling part wasn't how he passed the time, it was how at peace he seemed to be. No remorse, no grappling with guilt, just a man waiting for his final scene. As his execution date approached in 2006, Rolling finally made a full confession, one that confirmed investigators' long-held suspicions. He admitted to the 1989 triple homicide in Shreveport, Louisiana. 24-year-old Julie Grissom, her father Tom, and her 8-year-old nephew Sean. The killings bore his signature: stab wounds, post-mortem cleaning, and body positioning. They had haunted detectives for years, but it wasn't until Rolling's final weeks that he confirmed what they already knew. He started killing long before Gainesville. His last words were sung, not spoken. As he lay strapped to the gurney on October 25, 2006, Rolling began to softly sing a gospel hymn. None greater than thee, O Lord, none greater than thee. His voice trembled slightly, but he never showed fear. Witnesses, including journalists and relatives of the victims, watched as the drugs entered his system. Within minutes, Danny Rolling was dead. Outside the prison, reporters read statements from the families. Some found peace, others said no execution could undo what had been taken from them. The horror didn't end with Rolling's death, but it did close the final chapter in a nightmare that had stretched on for 16 years. Long after the headlines faded and the Hollywood adaptations took over, the names of the victims still echo in Gainesville. They weren't just characters in a slasher story. They were real people with real lives, real families, and dreams that never got a chance to grow. Sonja Larson, 18, an aspiring educator. Sonja had just begun her studies at the University of Florida. Friends described her as sweet, shy, and deeply devoted to her family. Christina Powell, 17, loved writing and had a bold spirit. She was known for her laughter and her ambition to work in journalism. Christa Hoyt. While studying criminal justice, Christa worked part-time as a record clerk at the sheriff's office. She dreamed of becoming a police officer and serving her community. Manny Taboada, 23, a former high school football player with a passion for architecture. Manny was described as kind, strong, and fiercely protective of his friends. He fought to defend Tracy, even as he lost his life. Tracy Pauls, 23. Outspoken and driven, Tracy had dreams of becoming a lawyer. She was known for her fiery wit and her compassion for others. Here at Cracked Relic, we extend our deepest condolences to the families, friends, and classmates who carry their memories forward. These 5 lives were stolen in an act of cruelty, but their stories, their humanity, deserve to be remembered for who they were, not how they died. You are remembered. There is a particular kind of fear that doesn't fade with time. It clings to places, to memories, to silence. What happened in Gainesville wasn't just a series of murders, it was a community-wide trauma, a violation of safety, a dismantling of trust. For weeks, an entire city lived under siege. not from a foreign enemy, not from a storm, but from one man hiding in the woods with a knife and a sick fantasy. Danny Rolling didn't just kill, he invaded. He watched people live their lives quietly, patiently, then shattered everything. He didn't just want to end lives, he wanted to leave his mark, and in the most twisted way, he did. Pop culture took the edge off. Scream gave people something fictional to latch onto. But for the people of Gainesville, the horror wasn't entertainment, it was real. The dorm room doors, the empty classes, the sobbing phone calls home. That doesn't go away. And here's the truth. For all the coverage, all the forensics, all the trials, we still don't understand how someone like Danny Rolling gets made. Abuse? Yeah. Trauma? Absolutely. But millions suffer and don't become monsters. He did. And that mystery, that darkness, still lingers beneath the surface. So if you're hearing this story for the first time, remember, this isn't just about a killer, it's about the victims, the families, the town that endured it, and the reality that sometimes the most terrifying stories are the ones that actually happened. It's really rough to think about it because these were kids. You know what I mean? They were kids. They were just starting out, and this sick, disgusting man decided, why not? I cannot wrap my head around that idea of doing this. They're kids. Again, our condolences from the bottom of our hearts go out to the families and friends of those who suffered at the hands of this disgusting person. And anyway, this was Cracked Relic. Sources will be down in the description and coming up after this. And may those who suffered rest in peace. Thank you for watching.